Namaskar and welcome to podcast by APEDA, the Agriculture and the Processed Food Product Export Development Authority under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. This series takes you through India's agriculture journey, from the roots that nurture our crops to the roots that take them across to the world. In today's episode, we are turning our attention to one of India's most remarkable export success story, rice, a grain that sustained millions and symbolizes both heritage and economic strength. Joining me today is Miss Priyanka from CRISIL, who brings deep insights into agriculture market intelligence and export dynamics. Priyanka, thank you for joining us. Let's start with a broad view. India has been leading global rice exports for years now. How is the current scenario shaping up for 25-26?
Thanks, Arushi. It's pleasure being here. So India, if you talk about 25-26, we continue to hold a strong position in the global rice landscape. Our productions are estimated to remain steady and all thanks to good monsoon and stable acreages which we have. Globally, if we see several regions, so they are facing fluctuation in yield that will eventually lead to certain fluctuation in production. But India is likely to maintain a consistent production which will help both the domestic availability as well as robust exports.
Let's move to India's most celebrated export commodity, basmati rice. How has that performed in the recent months and what are the current trends shaping its market?
So basmati remains India's most premium and recognizable variety. It's the most branded category of rice which we have, and it's known globally. Recent months, we have seen stable prices supported by strong international demand. There were temporary weather-related challenges, but despite that, the overall outlook, if I would say, for basmati, it looks positive. Indian basmati, it continues to enjoy the global preferences, and those preferences are for the consistent quality, the aroma, and the authenticity. Exporters also, they are taking several measures, largely, to strengthen the brand presence, to gain the consumer trust through quality assurance as well as reliability.
Let's talk about non-Basmati segment now. It makes up a large portion of India's total rice exports. What is driving the growth?
So, India's non-basmati rice exports remains very strong, and it's supported by the healthy stock level in the market with the FCI, which we see. It's supported by stable pricing, as well as steady global demand. So, our advantage in non-basmati lies in scale. Our advantage lies in reliable logistics. If you see the India's production system, the strong infrastructure, port connectivity. So these are some very crucial factors which ensures that our exporters can meet the global demand efficiently as well as consistently. So consistency remains very important here.
How have global market shifts affected India's position?
See, global rice prices, they have been relatively volatile if you see, largely because of varied crop conditions, and the trade dynamics which has been witnessed in different regions. India, however, has maintained a stability as well as competitiveness in rice. Since the government has lifted restrictions on various varieties of rice in the late 2024, exporters have gradually regained the ground in many of the key markets. So consumers' demand for premium and aromatic rice varieties, so they have seen, a good jump over the years. They have continued to rise globally, and that trend, which has developed globally for, premium and aromatic rice, so that is working very strongly in India's favor.
That's quite an optimistic picture. But are there any risks or challenges that could affect India's rice export?
Yeah, so climate, it remains one of the major challenges. So if you talk about climate variability, it's a very important factor that needs to be watched, that needs to be monitored. Excess or, erratic rainfall in major producing regions. So that impacts the yield, that impacts the procurement cycle of this particular commodity, or any other commodity, but specifically if we talk about rice here. Another important factor is geopolitical trade fluctuations, if we talk. So, geopolitical trade fluctuations and shifting import policies in some of the markets, they also influence, short-term trends in the rice exports. However, India's strong production base and responsive export ecosystem continues to provide the resilience among all these challenges.
Which new markets are emerging as opportunities?
Several new regions, they are showing interest. They are showing interest in sourcing Indian rice, especially those markets who are seeking consistent supply as well as quality. So there is where India is finding an interest. Diversification in trade partnership and product segments, so they continue to create more opportunities for the rice exporters. Right.
Before we close, Priyanka, how do you see India's rice story evolving over the next few years?
See, India rice story is moving towards a greater emphasis on quality, emphasis on sustainability, as well as emphasis on creating a brand value. So, the global markets, if you see now, they value traceability, they value eco conscious production, as well as transparency. So, initiatives in India that are around organic clusters, around GI tagging, improved packaging. So, these are likely to define the next stage of growth for the India's rice story. If India continues to balance productivity and sustainability, we can maintain a leadership position well in the next decade as well.
That's an inspiring vision, a combination of strength, innovation, and responsibility. Thank you, Priyanka, for joining us and sharing such insightful perspective.
Thank you, Arushi. It was pleasure being part of this conversation.
India's rice story is a remarkable example of how tradition and technology come together to create a global impact. From the paddy fields of India to dinner table across continents, every grain tells a story of resilience, innovation, and excellence. This episode was brought to you by APEDA, driving India's journey towards a stronger, organic, and sustainable future. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Join us in our next episode as we continue exploring the stories, innovation, and people shaping India's agriculture landscape.